Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. I am back for round six, and we have URL Division 1 here tonight around the streets of Jeddah. I think we're just waiting up for some of you guys to load up into the lobby. But in the meantime, I will give you guys our standings after Italy as we have loaded in now. Let me just give you guys some telemetry first. Well, I'll give you guys telemetry. I don't enjoy using that bit. That'll do for now. So I'll go through the standings right now. So right now, in first, in the Alpine, we have Nawalp with 87 points. And there's a bit of a gap actually to P2, which is Guyton in that Red Bull, Kian in the Ferrari P3, Maui P4 in the Williams, MGK P5 in that McLaren, Marius Horner P6 in the other Red Bull, Sabi P7, but he's left the championship. We have Psycho in P9, McLeod P11, Bombastic P12, Provitex P13, Mali not having the best of seasons in P14, David P15, Fleckas P16, Randy P17, James Class P18, Klein P19, and Jimmy P20 in the championship. And well, we have Ryan and Burrell in 22 and 23 because there's a lot of reserves in between. So that's the championship for the drivers. Let me see if I can get the team's championship. Yes, we can. So we have Red Bull on a whole 100 points in P1. We have Rowan P2 in the Alpine. The Alpine team P2. We have Alfa Romeo P3, Ferrari P4, Williams P5, McLaren P6, Aston Martin P7, Alfa Tauri P8, Mercedes P9, and the Haas F1 team P10 in that championship. So, give me 2 seconds, guys. But as you can see, we've got quite a few drivers on track. We have Lumi, whoever you want to call it, out as a reserve today. Thank you very much for reserving. Track is actually quite busy. Everyone except Marius Corbin and Provitex out on track. Let's go on board with Maddie. I know he's really good and really strong around this track, so hopefully he can actually have a good race tonight. So, he's opening up his lap now, approaching turn 1. Wait, just after the 100 meters board, there's actually that black box you want to brake as now going to turn 2. So open that steering up. Now it's fast S section. And we've got turn 4 approaching, turn 5. Don't use too much of that exit because the car grounds out in turn 6, 7, 8, 9. They all come really quickly, and then turn 10 and 11. This is actually turn 11 and turn 12 again. They're not really like corners, they're just straight lines in a sense. Going to turn 13 now. Doesn't go too close to that apex, winds that steering up a bit, going really close to that wall on the outside. Now turn 14, and 15, 16, 17, a really tricky little chicane here in the high speed. And as his teammate, his brother actually, it's actually Kian, giving that other Ferrari a little slipstream down the straight. So now we're going to be approaching turn 22 and turn 23. It's a good exit again, another slipstream from the Ferrari boys. So the Ferrari boys working really well together here as Kian gets out the way. And surely Maddie will be giving the return favour on Kian's flying lap, going to that final corner now. Bit of a moment on the exit there, but gets a good exit. No, Rowan goes to the top on the 27.391. What's Maddie going to do? A 27.7, so he's 4 tenths off there. Let's see what his brother Lumi can do in the Alfa Romeo today. He is quite a way off. Let's see who else we have on track. We have actually a McLaren of MGK spinning in that tricky turn 16, 17 section there. So what I want to see, let's go on board with Maui actually in the Williams. Now approaching the first section, the S's. Takes a good line actually. Hopefully that Red Bull doesn't hold you too much. Yeah, Red Bull gets out the way nicely there for him. So it's going to be some issue there. Bit of a yellow flag situation. I think that was just the Red Bull going off the track to let Maui get by. As now going to turn 13. Chucks in really nicely. No snap to road 6 just, yeah, good exit there. as he's now approaching turn 16, 17. There's a bit wide of the apex that does compromise the apex of turn 17, but gets a decent exit there, as actually I think I saw game crash showing it gets a 5-space split penalty. I wasn't really looking up there, but into the second sector split, 1 minute 784, so a decent middle sector I think, but you can soon find out as he's now got that final corners. 26 just gone by, 27 now. Decent apex there, just about gets a burp, and wheel spin on the exit there as well. That's also a bit of the game sound glitch there as well, sadly. Basically approaching the line now. The 28 flat, so Rowan doing really well on his opening lap so far. Let's see who else we have on track. I think that was MGK spinning once again, so he's not having the best time out there so far. We have Provitex actually the other Williams on an out lap, so we'll get on board with him after. We have Jimmy also on an out lap. Let's see if there's anyone else on a lap, current lap actually. No, not really. Actually, no we don't, that's Maui again. So we will ride on board the Provitex now that he's exited that final corner. And he's actually going to box, so maybe he got a bit of damage or something on his out lap. I'm not sure. So Jimmy's the only one on the track right now that is yet to set. Is about to set a lap. Sorry. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay as well. Got a bit of a new stream situation, so hopefully everything is fine. You see the hash now of Jimmy about to open his lap. You need to take that little wide cut-in line to get a really good launch for this opening of a lap, which he has done, and now you've got to stay tight to that outside line. You want to minimize that scrub, especially on this game where you've got to really take the line of least resistance. Breaking at that black box into turn 1 gets a nice apex there. You really want to put at least half that car on the inside curb there. It opens up the corner of turn 3 really nicely. Now approaching turn 4. But you can actually afford to cut that corner a tiny bit with the way that the game's done it, so maximizing that to his advantage as he's now going into turn 10, 11 and 12. Yes, there's 3 corners in that little section of the exit. He's now approaching turn 13 as game classes and 5-space split penalty again for illegal blocking, so I'm not sure what's going on with Jonah there on the track actually. But we're still going to ride on board with Jimmy. He has a really nice run through that hairpin. Now going 10, 16 and 17. Not too strong on the exit there, so really good job there. I think did he have to lift the 20 on the exit just to make sure the car didn't snap? I'm not too sure. So now we're going to get to the second sector split. See what the time's going to be. So one dead and 782. He invalidates. So really easy to invalidate there. It's not like the old game where you can actually use that curve on the exit past the white line to your advantage. So you can also ground out on this thing on that corner, that exit curve, sorry, as Mali is, I believe, going out on another lap. Yes, he is. There's a decent turn 1 and turn 2 there. It's now going to go into that S section, approaching turn 4 now. You really want to brake when that wall starts to turn away, which he does. And now he's got that tricky S section of the first sector. Really committed through there. He's taking a lot of risk actually, so good job there from him, and a lot of risk on the exit there, so good job there from Andy, at least keeping it within the lines. He's got purple sector 1 to reward that. As he's now going into the hairpin of turn 13. Gets a decent exit actually, yeah, I think he was a bit hesitant on the power, I'm not too sure, but he did a decent job to keep the car in check. As now he's going to turn 16 and 17. Open the steering up. You really want to open that steering on the mid-apex side because at least it'll unsettle the car if you've had too much lock there. Now goes back out S's, so he's now going to be approaching turns 22 and 23. Gets a good exit now, turn 24. You really want to make sure you don't let the car front end wash off, which he has managed to avoid. Turn 25 here, and again 26 is just there, and then now 27 is the final corner. He opts to actually push that inside wall, which maybe he put too much rotation in, I'm not too sure, as he's actually abandoned this lap, so maybe not the best of laps from him. Let's see who else is out there. We have Guyton actually in the Red Bull on the lap there. So the Red Bull guys have been doing a really good job this season actually. So let's see if they can pull off anything special here instead. So the purple sector 1, I believe. Well, I'm going to believe the game. You know, it's pretty controversial believing the game, but I'm going to believe they're trying to get there. See, that's a really controlled lap start. Goes a bit wide on the apex there, and that means that he's starting to really take a lot of risk on that second stage of that corner. So now this is just flat out. What's he going to VMAX at 327, 328 Ks. So good decent straight line speed there. Purple middle sector as well. No dramas there for turns 23 and 24. Or turns 22 to 24, sorry. And now it's just flat out. You really want to hug that inside wall there, and then that allows you to just finish right and open up the entry point for this final turn 27 corner. A bit out of shape on the exit there. What's it going to be? As he approaches the line now, it's going to be P2 so far, 2/10 off Rowan. So a decent job there from the Red Bull. His teammate now is falling just on our lap right now. Let's see if anything else will happen. We have Maui actually, the other Williams, on a lap now. Cuts the inside really nicely there, and that just allows you to open up the S's, because if you get the entrance of the S's wrong, it just unsettles and destroys the whole flow to the S's. Good enough coming in third. He's going to keep it going. Yes, he does. That would have ruined his exit a tiny bit, but he's still up on his time, attempted a bit up on his time, so good start there. Opts to take a wider line through the hairpin there. I'm not sure if that was by choice or it was just the car, but keeping it tight, keeping the line tight is now going into that turn 16, 17. You really want to just check the car in. If it's 16 and 16, you can lean on the car in turn 17 there and on the exit, but no dramas there. And as you're now going to be approaching turns 22 and 23, taking a lot of risk. You could actually hear the car ground out on that curb there, so he did a really good job to keep the car going. And now he's just got to patiently wait for that turn 27. Sorry. Can he get a good exit? Yes, he does. He picks up that power really nicely actually. What's he going to do as he runs to the line now? Can he improve? Yes, he does, but only up to 5th. So he only gained 1 position on doing that lap. And let's see, we have the other Red Bull, Marius Formula now on a lap. He's in the middle section now. He's going to be approaching turn 16 and 17 now. Nice commitment there, and they're in the turn 16. And like I just said, if you have that precision with turn 16, it really helps the turn 17 on the exit, and that has helped him out quite a bit. Now we're going to go into turn 22 and 23. It's 2/10 up and a purple middle sector, so can this challenge for pole position or even challenge his teammates for P2? Let's find out. And yep, taking that line of least resistance there. And that actually really helps with opening the corner, but also, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of drivers tend to swing the opposite before they go, well, turn the steering a bit to the opposite way of that corner, and that just helps with the rotation. And as you can see, nice Formula P2 just a tenth ahead of his teammate. But yeah, the nature of that final corner just allows you to do that without actually having to steer, because you're already going towards the right for a left-handed corner. That just helps to get the nose into the corner. Let's see the MGK, he's still not managed to set a lap. Vinny also not able to set a lap. Here, this is important, he really needs to try and set a lap, so he's only got 4 minutes left to get the purple middle sector, but I don't know how accurate he's not set a time yet. He did a 1 minute flat, so that was a really good middle sector, I think. So good job there from him. Let's just admire this Ferrari yellow. I think they're going to be removing it off the game in the next 3-4 days, so if you want, use it as much as you can before those days go. Also going to be provisional pole position, and he's got a 2/10 gap to Rowan there, so really good job there from Kian. I'm not sure if he's going to have time to go to the box and get a fresh set of soft tyres again, but if he does, then expect him maybe to improve a bit more actually. But if that's going to be the only time he sets in qualifying and it's pole position, then very good job there from Kian, a very good job. The contact in the Williams there, a bit a bit slow and a bit lazy in second phase, turn 2, but managed to pick out the exit decently, but as he's actually spun, he did go a bit wider into the start of the X's, and that, as I said, it will just ruin your flow and sometimes even unsettle the car because that muscle memory wants you to do something, but if you've gone a bit off, then you can't put the same steering rotation or the same you can't do the same as what you would do with a normal line. Let's see, we have Jonah now trying to do a lap. He manages to keep the car in check, but you can see how close he was to that wall. Took a lot of commitment there on the exit there. Throwing the car in goes wide and invalidates his time, so just the front end is not sticking there at all. As he's decided to do a donut for some reason. I think for some reason I've got some chat audio in my ear, so I'm just going to quickly turn that off. I don't know why I have that enabled. Yeah, I'm not sure how to disable it, so hopefully we don't have any issues here. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I just heard someone in chat say, well, I mean, the stream chat say something. I'm not sure what that was about. MGK, can he finally get a time? No, he's not. I think he's about to start a time actually. He's really not having a good qualifying here. Maybe the balance is just not right in that McLaren. But yep, as you see, 1 minute 30. Everyone is basically on the track right now. So hopefully he doesn't get too busy to close that final corner. I believe we have Jimmy in the house about to start his lap. We're right on board with him, maybe a bit later because we've still got a bit of time. MGK, can you keep it nice and steady? You can actually see he's not taking that many risks. As I was just saying that he didn't take too many risks on the exit there of turn 8 and 9. But I think when you're just under the limit, that just destroys the car's flow. And well, we've got Manny now about to start a lap in a Ferrari there. Goes actually wide of the apex, so that's really going to ruin his turn 1 and turn 2, but maybe can he pick the time up in the middle and last sectors? It's going to be really hard to do. Let's see. We've got guys from actually in the Red Bull on the lap now. We've got Marius Formula about to start a lap, and we have Rowan on a lap. Let's see what Rowan can do actually, because he's currently the closest person to challenge for pole position. Being already deciding to retire from the qualifying session. Rowan invalidates. He did just touch that inside wall, and that just pushed his car a bit more wide. Mali with a purple sector 1 10th up currently as he's exiting turn 30. Gets a decent exit there. So maybe he doesn't lose too much time going wide into turn 1. Turn 16, 17 goes a bit wide of the apex, and that just doesn't allow you to get into the power as early as you want to for these long sweeping turn 18, 19, 20, and 21 before that little braking zone of turn 22. I just can't believe they managed to fit that many corners in. This is so stupid. He's attempted a bit up again in that middle sector, and now it's just the final few corners before that last turn 27. He maximized 334k, so decent straight line speed actually for Manny there. So that's going to be really handy in a race, I think. If he now crosses the line, what's it going to be? It's going to be P4 only. Marius Formula, let's see if Guyton is about to cross the line right now in the Red Bull. What's it going to be? He's going to be pole position there for that Red Bull. So currently, Rowan retired from the track. Can his teammate, Marius Formula, at least challenge for a pole position or get anywhere close to him? I don't know. I've not seen the sector time, so I don't know what it's going to be like. What's it going to be? P3. So only a 10th of his teammate, but the two Red Bulls doing really well. And let's see, we have Maui now in the Williams. He's invalidated, so that's his qualifying turn. Chris in the Mercedes, P9 so far. It's not been the season he would have hoped, especially for the Mercedes team. But now he's approached the final corner. Actually bangs his right rear onto the exit wall, but it's not sim damage, so not too much of an issue there for him. Can he improve? No, he can't. And Randy's decided to not do that final run. So that is qualifying done here in Jeddah. I will run you through the grid after, and then I believe we have some 5 second grid penalties for us to go over, which is fun. Give me 2 seconds, guys. And I believe Lumi put the wrong setup up sadly, and he didn't manage to time the session right, but he did really well with that one lap time actually, so good job there from Kian. I'll run you through the qualifying grid now. So we have Guyton in the Red Bull, pipping Kian by 16 milliseconds, so the very tight top two there. We have a 10th behind Marius Formula in the other Red Bull, Rowan P4 in the Alpine, Mali P5 in that Ferrari, Jimmy P6, Maui P7, Gaines Class P8, Bombastic P9, Prototax P10, Randy P11, Lumi the reserve P12, and we had MGK P13 in the McLaren. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting race. I believe it's a one-stop hard medium or medium hard, but I've also seen a few drivers try soft hard. So that may be a strategy that's useful if the safety cars. So we will see. The drivers just picking up and setting up their strategies now. And yes, we did have some five-place grid penalties. So that's going to push up some drivers forward a tiny bit. I don't think it's going to change too much in terms of the championship contenders, to be honest. So we're just going to wait for these drivers to load in, get their setup sorted. So you see we've only got 24 seconds left on the timer. So we'll see. I think we're going to see quite a few DRS trains maybe around here. Some of these guys are really equally paced, and it's not hard to follow, especially with this new generation of cars. Even though Codemasters have coded a lot more dirty air in this game, I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue, to be honest. So, and now we've got the 5 red lights here. No formation lap because it's still broken. And it's lights and away we go. Kian gets a decent start, but Guyton Guyton drops back. Kian gets a really good start actually into turn 1, and he's already ahead before they go there. Marius Formula had to cut the corner a tiny bit there to keep position, and no issues there. As actually Lumi has lost it on the exit of turn 3 there, and that's just pushed him into the wall. Hopefully he sticks around for the rest of the race, because I guarantee you there could be some safety cars. We have Lumi in P1 right now. The 2 Red Bulls, a bit reminiscent to real life, guys. P2 and P3, we have Rowan the Alpine in P4. Let's call Rowan the Fernando Alonso of Division 1 in that Alpine. Just behind him, got Mali in P5 and Maui in P6. So that was a bit of a mouthful there, sorry. And currently, right now, we have Jimmy, Randy, Bombastic, Prototax, MGK, Jonah, and Lumi there. Lumi got a bit of a distance, but this is what I mean. Let's see, because you really do not want to be using a lot of your ERS around this track. It's flat out for a lot of it, so you really do not want to be wasting it. But these two right now, slowly pulling away from Marius Formula. Maybe Marius Formula just deciding to stay back. I'm not sure, but as you can see, Kian is deploying a bit. He's got around 82% of battery right now. Guyton is sitting on 85, so they're pretty matched actually, but there you go, Marius Formula is only on 70, and he's got Rowan challenging him in the Alpine. I'm going to call Rowan the little wily old fox that he is deploying, so he's going to try and go for an overtake into turn 1, and the 2 leaders deciding not to battle so far. Let me put the tyre details actually, sorry about that. So we have basically the top 7 on hards. As we can see, Rowan and Red Bull fighting there into turns 2 and turns 3. No position change. I'll even put telemetry up for you guys, because a lot of you guys do enjoy it, even though I find it a bit clunky and annoying. Let's see, Marius Formula struggling on the exit there, as so was Rowan a tiny bit. See if there's any battles going on. I don't think there's any battles so far. We only have Chris tucked up right behind Bombastic. I'm sure these guys are going to have a little bit of a battle for pride. But Chris doing a good job actually sticking behind Mali there. Obviously Mali just changed the wheels quite recently, so it's still going to take a lot of time for him to get consistent and up to speed. He's doing a good job so far. Rowan dropped back a tiny bit from the top, from P3, sorry, and the top 2 have actually lost a bit of time to Marius Formula. but Kian is actually pulling away 6/10 so far. So maybe Guyton made a mistake, a slight mistake that cost him a tiny bit. We're not too sure actually. Rowan actually closing up now in the straight. I know Rowan is someone to run quite a ridiculously low amount of downforce, so watch out for him, especially with the DRS usage, because he's running at lower downforce. He's using less of the pack on the straight, so he can actually save quite a bit of DRS as well. As actually we've got Jimmy trying to get around the outside of Maui there, but Maui managing to cover it off in a safe manner, not like Nicholas Latifi around Singapore, where he just cut across when the car was right behind him there. Bombastic actually going really wide, well not really wide, a bit wide, maybe picked up a warning there as well, but there's nothing much. As actually Randy just lost control of the car there, bit of a hilarious slide actually, almost like a Stroll moment on the replay cam, sorry. Got a bit of a cold coming up, so talking's a bit hard right now. Let's see. Provatax, has he made a mistake actually? Yes, he has. The Williams driver has made a mistake. Now I need to flick spin around. Yeah, it's going to be tough for him to catch. But so having said that, actually, Lumia's caught up to the back of the pack. That's what clear red does when you're not having to follow a load of cars. Actually, Chris is on those medium tyres, and now he's just overtaken Mali. So maybe Chris just wanted to have that faster tyre at the start. As actually Mali's coming to the box, but I don't see any damage on his car. So I'm not sure what's going on there for him. As actually Maui and Jimmy are fighting, and Maui is holding on to this, but that just allows Chris on this medium tyre to get a really nice exit. Now Maui's got two positions, and will Bombastic try and go around the outside? Yes, he will. It will turn into the inside here, and Chris has done a really good job there to pit both those drivers in the space of a few corners. So good job there for that Mercedes driver, as now they're going to be approaching turn 13 there. There's not a DRS point here anymore, as like last game. That DRS point is actually moved to the between turns 19 and 22. So, but that does allow those guys to have made an overtake in the essence to at least try and keep position and fight it for a bit longer. Let's see, does any of the battles close? Guyton gaining a tiny bit. He is in the DRS zone. Let's see what how much battery Kian has. Kian has 60% in his pack. Guyton 43. I'm pretty surprised that actually both Red Bulls. I'm really surprised both Red Bulls have low ERS, especially when they're both in the DRS. Rowan only on 45 there, but Kian doing a really good job, only with 60% in his pack. Chris is actually, Chris is fighting Jimmy. Maybe Jimmy got a really good end. Run into the final corner, but that fighting has now allowed Maui to try and overtake. Will he try and go around the outside of Jimmy? Yes, he will, but Jimmy locks up a bit on the apex there, but Maui did not have enough overspeed to go around the outside there. So still status quo with that battle for P6, P7 and P5, P6 and P7, and that's actually allowing him GK in the McLaren on those medium tyres. Another one of those medium tyre runners to just chill and sit back, maybe even try and overtake when these guys fight too much, as Maui's actually gone wide on the exit of turn 8 there. I'm not seeing any of the battles of this lead right now. I think a lot of these leaders are biding their time, but I'm really concerned about the ERS situations here, especially for the Red Bulls. I'm not sure why they're so low compared to the rest. Kian still on 60%, maybe just Kian being really smart, using less downforce, and that just means that the Red Bulls have to really deploy a lot just to try and stay within the DRS range. Marius Formula is getting that DRS from his teammates, so that is helping him to defend. But actually, having said that, Guyton, I thought he was trying to go for an overtake, but he's just going out that DRS and slipstream. But this top four actually pulling away really nicely from Chris in P5, who's actually now got a little bit of a DRS train behind him. He's got the DRS train of Jimmy, Maui, MGK, gains class, and actually Randy just in the back there as Maui gets a 3-second time penalty, which is not what you want a lap 6 of a 25 lap race. That is really early on, but we have seen him go wide quite a few times actually. So yeah, he's picked up quite a few warnings. Well, 3 warnings. Chris sliding on the exit there of turn 5. Turn 4, sorry, into turn 5. But he is pulling a slight gap. Yes, he is actually. So Chris, only a 50% to battery, but as you can see, Jimmy's really having to now push to try and stay within that DRS range of Chris. Hard tyres are still going to be slower right now, but those mediums may start to fall away around lap 7, 8, I believe. Not too sure the calculations. Not driven Jeddah for quite a while now, sadly. Let's see what how it's going. Looking up at the front, still the same Red Bull, Ferrari, and then out the Alpine of Rowan there. But Ian's used a bit more of his deployment. He's on 52% now, so he's around 10%. So that was mainly just defending, I think, on the previous lap. But the Red Bull 6%. He's going to be clipping down the straights. You can see that with the flashing light on his car. His teammate 32%. That will help him, especially when you've got under 10%. You just lose that 160 horsepower. And Guyton, I'm really surprised he's using this much deployment. Maybe his race pace just isn't that strong right now, so he needs to use it to stay within the 1 second. But look, that his teammates on 32% advantage. Rowan behind is on 54, and Guyton is just losing that 160 horsepower with him when he's flashing. So this is also amazing. Kian using the Lando Norris helmet in the Ferrari. Maybe that's a foreshadow for something in the future. We're not sure. But Chris actually falling back in that top 4. Now he gets another 3-second time penalty within the space of a lap. So I'm not sure what's going on with him with track limits. That's really frustrating. That's going to be really frustrating for him actually. Chris now dropping 6 seconds behind the top 4. Jimmy staying in that same gap, so nothing's changed there. Well, I actually forgot to mention that Mali retired when he boxed. I'm not sure for what reason. Maybe something came up, I'm not too sure. Well, he's got some hardware issues as Ian has actually made a massive mistake and now he's dropped to P7. I sadly missed that bit and now it's down to P8. That's not what the Ferrari team wants. Almost reminiscent of real life when things are going well and then something just happens and they lose it. I really hope Ian does not box. She's boxing to repair his wing, so hopefully he doesn't box to retire. I really hope. But that has now just released both Red Bulls. A Red Bull that's actually limping around a bit with literally nothing in his pack, only 11%. His teammate on 40%, and the car behind Rowan, the wily old fox, is 62%, or 64% actually. Well, I always say in any league race, Rowan is always inevitable, so maybe he can challenge and pressure these Red Bulls quite a bit. Guyton is actually going to be struggling. Having said that, Marriage Formula made a massive mistake and just hit the wall. I did not see any damage on his car right now, so maybe he's got away unscathed. Yes, there's no damage so far, but that has just allowed Rowan now to sit right behind him, and Rowan being really smart, not deploying anything because he doesn't need to right now. So very good job there, very good smart racing there from Rowan. He's really tucked up now behind in turn 23, turn 24 now. Is he going to get a really nice slingshot? His teammate will have DRS and ERS to use, but look at Rowan, he's now deploying. Will he try and go around the outside? Yes, he will. It's going to be really hard, but can he hang it around the outside? The Red Bull really pushing him, but Rowan doing a really good job. Now, can he get a decent run? The Red Bull up front, Guyton helping his teammate out, which he is allowed to do, but can Rowan now hang around the outside? I believe Rowan is running really low downforce. Can he make this work? He's going to go cleanly around the outside. A really good job there from Rowan, having to fight both Red Bulls there. So Rowan has had to use around 15% of his battery, but that's still going to be enough of an advantage compared to Marius Formula, who's now on 13. and actually Guyton, who's still only on 11. So Rowan in a really good position here. Now he split the Red Bulls. Will he try and mount an attack on Guyton? Guyton doesn't have Kian in front to give him that slipstream and benefit. And as you saw there, Guyton flashing now, clipping on these straights. Going to be losing power. We've got yellow flag in sector 2, and that's actually Jonah. He's crashed out, and is that going to pull out the safety car? We've got double yellow flags now, actually. So I believe that's going to be the safety car. The game's really, really slow. Yes, it's the safety car. I think I saw on the flashing, the light panel there. Yep, full course safety car there. So it's going to be really hard because these hard runners are not going to be able to box on mediums. I don't think they'll go to the end, but the medium runners have just been handed a gift. They can box for hards now. They'll have that fresh there, and I believe they can go to the end on those hard tyres. But let's see what the leaders do. Marius Horner has now dropped back, which he's entitled to do because his teammates are at the box, but he's only able to do that because the gap behind was around 6-7 seconds, so he can afford to lose that time, and it won't cost him anything, and he won't be affecting other people's races. But they're all going to box actually. They're going to go into the medium tyres. Maybe it can go to the end. Like I said, I'm not really racing this track for a little while, so I'm not sure all the tyre strategies right now. Second Red Bull's in. Actually, Jimmy's in. Everyone is into the box now. Looney also in the box. Provatax in the Williams. Will he box? He only literally just boxed around 8 laps. Well, yeah, 8 laps. But will he box again for those medium tyres? He only gets one set of mediums, but they had only done 1 lap, I believe. So he should be fine. Kian now boxing in. Will he strap on those hard tyres again, or will he go for fresh medium? Hopefully this will allow Kian now to claw his way through, because he did drop a lot of time there. But as we can see, we've got the top 4 all on the medium tyres. Chris P5 on the hards. MGK P6. Provatax has gone onto the inters, and I'm definitely sure that's by accident there. He's definitely not just checking out his equipment to make sure everything's working. But we have Maui and Looney and Kian all on those medium tyres, and we have Randy on a fresh set of hard tyres there. It shouldn't be a long safety car, maybe just this lap and the next lap, looking at the gaps on the track, but also it's a really long lap, so it won't be too hard for the guys to catch up to the back of the train. Yeah, Mali not happy, saying getting bleeped by someone giving me slipstream should be the highlight of my season, something as quali. So he is not a very happy boy right now, Mali there, sadly for him, and the season has actually gone to shit a tiny bit. So yeah, poor lucky for Mali there, the Ferrari. We've got the other Ferrari in P11. Yeah, where am I seeing this Ferrari bottle right now, this Ferrari issues right now? I'll let you guys work out where we're seeing this. But, yep, so we had the Red Bull guys in P1 currently, Rowan P2, Marius Horner P3, Jimmy P4, Bombastic Chris P5. There's actually, Marius Horner has boxed again, and maybe he got damage under the safety car, I'm not too sure, but that is very strange. He's gone back onto those old hard tyres. Maybe he's thinking that he cannot go to the end on the medium tyres and he wants to go back onto the hard tyres, but I think that's still going to be a stretch anyway. But alternatively, he may have just had a collision, and Provatax finally off those inters, which I'm sure he did not intend to go onto. But that's just meant that the 2 guys that were driving at the front, Kian and Marius Horner, are now at the back of the pack. And that's just allowed Guyton and Rowan and now Jimmy to actually come into the equation, and that has for a chance to fight for that podium. And this has been a bit of a lifesaver there for Guyton, because now he's been able to recharge the pack. Now he's got 100% deployment for the race, but he's got to be really smart. I'm not sure what he was doing in the first few laps. Maybe it was just too much downforce on the car and he needed to use it to stay behind Kian, but now he's got that little bit of a lifeline. Now he can charge up that pack. As we're going to get confirmation, I hope, that the safety car is going to be in this lap. I believe I've seen a change of light. Yes, we have. There we go. Safety car in this lap, sorry. I was going to say, you can tell when the lights come off on the rear wing that the safety car is in this lap. And now this is going to be really hard for those hard runners to keep the tyres in temperature, sorry. So we'll see. Guyton not even in the last corner yet. I believe he will launch on the exit. He'll take that wide line and launch on the exit there. Look at Rowan already setting that up. And Rowan, can he get a launch? Actually, Guyton being really smart, not going in. Now he's gone on the exit. So not giving Rowan the chance to slipstreaming down the straight. That has meant that Rowan's got to use quite a bit of his battery now to defend from Jimmy. But let's see, can we see any battles going on? Actually, Randy trying to go down the inside of the McLaren of MGK there. Can he make it work trying to go around the outside now? On the exit of turn 2 into turn 3, not possible. And that's just allowed Lumi actually to now slip and overtake Randy there. So Randy actually losing a position when going for one. Chris not able to make any impression. He's actually got Maui on the mediums behind. And actually, what do we have? Jimmy's made a massive mistake on the safety car restart. He's now just lost his opportunity to get a podium here around Jeddah. And actually Maui and Chris are now fighting at turn 13. Chris managing to hold position, but Maui on those medium tyres as opposed to Chris on the hard tyres. Maui will have that tyre advantage in the Williams there, but getting a massive snap on the exit there. Still heavy on fuel right now, so got to be really careful on the exits there. But yeah, the front two been able to pull away now, 1.5 seconds gapping them to P3. Yeah, I think Lumi, there you go, tucked behind the McLaren of MGK, actually now overtaking into the final corner there. Good job there from Lumi. He is on those medium tyres, which does have a tyre advantage compared to the hards. And now he really needs to try and get into that DRS and slipstream of Maui up front. And actually Kian now mounting an overtake on MGK. MGK deciding not to fight it into the braking zone. He knows it's not his race. And Kian now up into P6 there. So Kian really needs to now try and push on. He's only got 62% of battery, which isn't too bad because he had to fight his way through. But now it's going to be really tough. He has Lumi and Chris Maui up front. Chris might be a bit of an easier overtake because he's on hard tyres, but look at that, Kian's gained quite a bit in the S's there. Chris gets a 3-second time penalty, so both Maui and Chris have track limit penalties, but Maui has 6 seconds, Chris has 3 seconds. But Kian, no drama on the exit there, turn 13, just needs to buy this time. I don't know, well, I'm not going to count out the chance for a win here, but Chris making a massive mistake, and having said that, that's just ruined Kian's run, and that's caused a bit of an issue there for the Red Bull, Ferrari and the Mercedes there of Chris. That is not what he wanted, and another safety car has been deployed, and that's just going to neutralize the race once again. Well, good thing I was aboard to see that, because that was a bit of a collision there, wasn't it? That's also collecting Mario's formula. I don't know if he's got damage. Yes, he does. He has end plate damage there. And Mario's formula's got a 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. That might be an illegal overtake, but I don't think that was malicious. It would have just been because of the game's system when it comes to overtaking. This has also helped Jimmy now. Now he can get to the back of the pack, but no one has boxed because they have literally just boxed on the previous safety car. But we will see Mario's formula, we will see Kian. But we see Jimmy, no, Jimmy decides to stay out. He's got no issues, so that's fine. But yeah, and that's actually allowed Lumi, who span out in lap 1. Now he's up into P4. Can he fight for a podium on this race? Let's find out when the checkered flag drops. But yeah, a bit of a crazy incident there. Chris just on those hard tyres, just losing the back end at turn 16. Well, at the exit of turn 17, sorry. And yeah, it's really hard because all the cars naturally go wide, so it's really hard to react, especially on the exit there. Yeah, we have 3 DNFs right now. We have Chris, Gaines Class, and Mali. Sadly, those 3 out of the race, so we're left with the top 10. But I'll run you through the order right now. So we have Guyton in P1, Rowan P2, Maui P3, Lumi the reserve P4, MGK P5, in the McLaren P6 prototypes. I believe another reserve. No, sorry. I believe he has now got a full-time seat. So P6 from Aldo Williams, Randy P7, Jimmy P8, Kian P9, and Marius Foreman P10. Actually, honourable mention to Randy. He's been doing really well since he's had to move up to Division 1, and he's actually been showing really good pace regardless of the struggles at the start of the game. So good job there from him, and also running, in my opinion, the correct racing number 19. No bias there at all. But I believe we will get another lap of safety car. Yes, we will, because Marius Foreman has not been able to catch up to the back of the pack just yet. So we'll get another extra lap of safety car running. Jonah not happy. Collision there at the exit of turn 17. Understandable, because it wasn't really his fault. He just got collected. As Kian has decided to box for soft tyres, I believe he does have quite a few fresh sets. No, sorry, he's actually boxed for medium tyres. So was he on a set of softs before? I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's going to be easy now to get the mediums in the end. Lots of safety cars within the space of 4-5 laps. But MGK and Randy will struggle on those hard tyres. We just saw with Chris now. It's really hard when you have a bunch of medium runners around you to try and keep that pace, but also try and keep them behind, because those mediums will just grip a lot better. I believe they are around half a second quicker around this track. The hards are just really hard in this game. I also do feel that they don't model the hard tyres realistically. Take a quick swig of water, but we should see the safety car in this lap. The FIA will notify us a bit later into the lap. I'll show you the penalty situation really quickly. But we have 2 drivers with penalties, and those are Maui and Marius Formula. 5 seconds for Marius Formula in the Red Bull, and 6 seconds to 3 second time track limit penalties for Maui. I suspect Marius Formula may be able to get rid of it if it wasn't speeding under the pit lane. I mean, the safety car. Don't see the lights go off from the safety car just yet. Hopefully it goes off now. I really hope so. And yes, it is. So Guyton will now need to slow down the pack and get set for another safety car restart. We've got around 10 laps left of this race, and we cross that line. And yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see, will Guyton go for the same strategy, and will Rowan not fall for the same trick again? Guyton actually going a lot slower than before. So I'm going to ride on board with Rowan. Let's see if he can get a nice jump. Yes, he does. He gets a decent exit there, but Guyton also gets a really good exit. And actually behind, Maui is trying to challenge Rowan there, so let alone Rowan getting a good exit. Maui got a really good exit there, and he's going to try and just show Rowan that he's on the outside there, but nothing can come of it. Randy actually trying, in a bit of a battle between Jimmy and Marius Formula, those guys on the softer, basically a softer compound of tyres compared to the hards. Randy able to hold on to that P7, but I think it's just going to be a matter of time before Marius Formula and Kian overtake, and even Jimmy actually. Up ahead, nothing so far. Maui is trying to stick behind Rowan there. He's only on 80%, Rowan on 85, and Guyton on 80, so pretty evenly matched there, but Rowan has a 10% ERS advantage compared to the guys around him. So So good job there from Rowan, reiterating the fact that he must be running low downwards. And actually Lumi, the reserve P4 in the Alfa Romeo, doing a really good job and a really good recovery so far. MGK then has Provatox behind him. Gap between him and Lumi around 8, 9 tenths, and I believe that may stretch out as the laps go down. And actually Randy's now been overtaken by Kian and Marius Formula, and now he's got Jimmy right behind him. And Jimmy actually, no stress, he just goes around the outside on the exit there. So Jimmy doing a really good job, but Randy losing now 3 positions in the space of 1 lap. And as I said, yes, it could just be a matter of time. He is on those hard tyres. And MGK also on those hard tyres, and just trying to stick. Now he's 1.3 seconds behind Lumi there, 1.4. So it's really hard for him. And Guyton actually using a lot of his ERS, but now he's 1.3 seconds away from Rowan. And Rowan now is being challenged, well, got Maui right behind him. But these drivers have all used a bit of the ARS, and Rowan is around 70%, and we actually have Lumi on 70%. So these two drivers have a lot of confidence and a lot of pace right now that they don't really need to deploy. As Lumi goes a bit wide there, I'm not sure. I believe he used one of his 3 chokers before he gets a penalty there. So yeah, no confirmation of a penalty there for Lumi. But Rowan, managing to catch right back up to Guyton. So he lost around 4 tenths from that fastest lap attempt from Guyton, but now he's gained that back because Guyton literally cannot use as much as what he did on that previous lap. He's only on 40%, so but Rowan's 70%. He's got around 30% delta compared to Guyton, and actually Maui's now lost a lot of time to Rowan there, and that's just allowed Lumi now to catch back up. Lumi, of course, not a full-time driver, but he still has a lot of pace. Our previous champion actually in last season, so still can hang it when he's not racing every week, which is nice to see. But actually Provatax is now catching slightly to the back of these guys, and DRS has now been enabled, so that will allow these drivers to easily overtake, hopefully, depending on if they're in the train or not. Kian goes down the inside there, Marius Formula. Maybe these two just trading positions. Because I'm sure I saw Kian ahead of Marius Formula when they were fighting with Randy. But yeah, this is proof now. Kian really needs to try and make up positions in the last 7 laps of this race. Lumi, well, I saw, there we go, the Williams spinning around a Provatax. So another mistake there from the Williams driver, sadly. It's not going to cause any safety cars, virtual safety cars, which is good. But that has just now meant that Williams has lost all of its momentum and its opportunity for a top 6. Lumi still right in the back of Maui. Rowan now back into the DRS. He's only on 60% battery, which is still better than Guyton, who is now 15%, so he will be clipping soon and losing a lot of power, especially on the exits and straights. And Rowan now 2.4 seconds ahead of Maui, so these two have nearly checked out of this race pretty much. Which is nice to see these two fighting. And we have Lumi now overtaking Maui into the final corner. But will Maui get the DRS? I don't think he has. No, he has actually, sorry, my bad. So Lumi now has to really try and defend, and Maui's now able to go around the outside and easily overtake, as Lumi actually goes really wide into turn 1, misjudged his braking zone there, but also tries to make sure he didn't take out Maui, and that has now given him a 3-second time penalty. I'm not sure, maybe he can get it removed if he decides to appeal that penalty. And actually Kian and Marius Formula have now overtaken MGK, so these two going through the pack together, almost like, I believe it was Carlos Sainz and Perez in Italy, where they were just following each other, but obviously Carlos Sainz did a much better job that day than Perez. Yeah, I think Kian will be able to catch right back up to Lumi and overtake maybe that P4. Maybe a podium still on the card for Kian there. I've never counted Kian out, to be honest, because I've seen him able to really get up to a position after having an issue, and Lumi gets another 3-second time penalty. So that P4 is technically guaranteed if Kian can keep it behind the gap between Lumi, but I'm sure Kian does not just want P4, he wants P3, he wants P2. Currently that gap between P2 and P3 is 3 seconds, so it's going to be a challenge if Kian manages to overtake. And up ahead, Rowan now into the final corner. Will he try? No, he won't. But can he get a really nice exit there? He's got 70% of battery compared to Guyton's 30%. And now will Rowan try and overtake into turn 1? He's going to try and go down the outside there, the Alpine driver. And it's going to be a really clean overtake. I think, in my opinion, deploying quite a bit more ERS than he needed to. But he got the job done into turn 1. And actually, Kian, is he going to try and go down the inside around the outside of Loom? No, he can't. But he did set the fastest lap of the race on that lap. So he is deploying quite a lot of his pack to try and get to the back of Lum. But will he have enough to overtake? And actually, Lum now has Maui right in front of him. And Maui, still around 2.73 seconds behind Maui, my former teammate. So a bit of a soft spot for him. It would be nice to see him get a podium, but obviously I cannot. I shouldn't be showing any bias. Ian, Lumi, Marius former, all fighting there for that P3 position, and Guyton actually dropping back a lot. Guyton does not have enough ERS. Even when he's deploying right now, he doesn't have that full potential from the battery, you know. He still doesn't get that full power no matter how much he deploys, and it actually is going to worsen the situation. As you can see, Rowan actually has deployed quite a bit to now overtake and try and gap Guyton there. And I think Rowan just has enough race pace right now that even if he deploys a lot of his pack, he will be able to keep that gap. And Guyton actually got a lot out of shape there. And actually, right at the back, Lumi on the exit, Rowan's at the fastest lap of the race. And now Kian, watch this. Will Kian try and go 3 wide? Well, Maui decides not to. But will Kian try and go down the inside of Lumi? No, he won't, but he does stick on the inside of Maui and actually pushing Lumi through the corner there. That's how much overspeed Kian had into the apex of turn 2. Will he try into the start of the S's? No, thinks better of it, and I think it's the best solution there. Rowan now 1.5 seconds ahead of Guyton there. Rowan now deciding to check out. He's had enough race pace, I believe, in this race to just be able to bide his time and not pull away. It's a good job there from Rowan. This has meant that Lumi's gap to P2 has now gone to 3.5 seconds, all this fighting. And Maui now having to look back at Marius Formula in that other Red Bull in P6. As actually Maui has made a bit of a mistake on the exit of turn 13. So that's both Williams now really not in a good shape for their race. P9 and P10 there, they'll still score some points, but Maui fighting for a podium and now fighting in P9 is not what you want. But now this has now allowed Kian to have no stress from behind. Marius Former is 2 seconds behind. He will have no advantage of slipstream and DRS. And now Kian, will he try and overtake to the final corner? He's opted not to use his DRS. And will he try and just play the games to get DRS? Yes, he will. And I don't know, it was really on the limit there to see if he got the DRS. Yes, he has. So he's decided not to use the DRS on that previous straight, and now he's going to use the DRS on this lap to try and pull away. Rowan now 1.3 seconds ahead, so Guyton has gained 2/10 on the previous lap, but still not enough to get into that DRS range. And now this is crucial for Kian. He really needs to not make a mistake. He's got clear track, 4 seconds. Can he do anything in the last few laps? He's really low on deployment there. Guyton is also really low on deployment, but look at this Rowan on 23%. This is what I mean. When you're running lower downforce, you can just charge up the pack a lot more. You can recover so much more compared to your competitors. And this is now crucial. Kian, can he now pull away? He's already got 6/10 of gap. Jimmy gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Currently, right now, that will push him down 1 position to P7. But if he can pull away, as Maui gets another 3-second time penalty, it's not going to affect his race too much. He'll just end up falling behind his teammate at this current rate of penalties so far. But we have a closer battle behind MGK and Jimmy. Maybe MGK's hard tires have now come into their own towards the end of this race. He also does have a 40%. He has got 40% in his pack. But Jimmy only has 5%. You can see that flashing light. He is going to be losing a lot of time on the straight. He has less deployment, less power. And this just means that even if MGK is on the slower tyres, he can just stay behind and wait for a good chance to overtake. Especially on these especially on these hard tyres, which may start to come into their own depending on how well these medium runners are looking after their tyres. Rowan now got that gap up back up to 1.6 seconds, so good job there from the Alpine driver. I think he's just, I think Guyton's just not able to sustain the same pace. And as you can see, Rowan is on 20% now, so maybe he deployed a bit more on the previous lap. Kian still got Lumi behind him. Lumi actually just causing issues for Kian there, which he is entitled to do, and Kian now having to look back. But having said that, Lumi's got a massive snap on the exit of turn 12 there, but he's not causing too many issues. He has lost a few tenths and now at the DRS range of Kian. Kian actually gaining a decent amount of time on that previous lap to Guyton. Could we see it's going to be really on the limit? He needs to gain around 1.5 seconds a lap to catch, which I think is going to be impossible because these guys are really evenly matched in terms of pace. But Kian on 0% of his deployment in that Ferrari, Lumi on 25%, Guyton literally on 0 as well, and Rowan there on 12% now. So doing a really good job with his ERS management there. He can now afford to deploy it because he's not got much of a threat from behind, and there's only literally 2 laps left of this race. As long as Rowan doesn't start to clip down the straights, he can afford to deploy his pack, because once you're in that 10% under range, you just lose quite a bit of deployment. And that Lumi now 2 seconds behind, and actually got Marius Formula charging right behind me. Let me actually show you the penalties really quick. So we have Lumi on 6 seconds, Marius Formula on 5 seconds, which should get removed because if he wasn't doing any speeding with a Delta into the safety car. Jimmy on 3 seconds and Mario on 9 seconds worth of penalties. He will currently stick with P9 so far. That's Maui, by the way. You know what, I'll stick with the penalties for now because tyres are okay, not relevant right now. For the last 2 laps of this race, Marius Formula in that Red Bull, can he try and overtake Lumi there? This is important because although Lumi's a reserve, it's important for Marius Formula's championship to can at least stay ahead, which he currently will, because Lumi's got a 1 second extra worth of penalties compared to Marius Formula. So he should be okay there. And then let's see another battles. We just have MGK still behind Jimmy there, but Jimmy doing a really good job, even though he has really low EOS compared to MGK, still able to keep ahead of that McLaren driver. Of course, the McLaren driver was really struggling qualifying, maybe just some sort of car balance issue, but he's doing really well to stay in P7 and to stay behind Jimmy in this race, as we are now on the final lap of the race. See Marius Formula right on the back, really trying to go around the outside into turn 1. Yes, he will. I suspect Lumi won't fight it too hard. No, he won't. So Lumi playing it smart. You know, he's a reserve and he doesn't need to fight it too hard. I mean, I wouldn't condone just giving a position away, but he knows his race, which is good. And Guyton now 2.2 seconds behind Rowan. Rowan has this in the bag if he keeps it on the track. And Kian there 3 seconds behind Guyton, so not able to challenge for P2, but did a really good job to recover. But what could have been if he didn't make that mistake, you know? He's shown that he has a lot of pace around his track. So, yeah, a shame. Marius Formula now into P4, so we've still got basically the same top 4 as the start of the race, but just in a different order. And actually Rowan, sneakily enough, now into P1, as he's now approaching the final sector. Protec setting the fastest lap of the race on the soft tyres. He did box for that fastest lap, and he will get that extra point. There's only 10 runners left in this race. As now we're going to see Rowan approaching that final corner of the race. I don't see any other battles on the track, so we'll stay on board with Rowan as he's now going into the final corner for the last time, turn 27. And now he's going to just approach that line, and he's going to win round 6 around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. A little bit of a weave, and Guyton P2 in the Red Bull. Kian, good recovery, P3. Marius Formula, P4. Lumi the reserve, P5. MGK held off. Well, I believe he overtook the Haas. Yes, he has. So really good job there. And Randy P8. good job in the Aston Martin. He was on those hard tyres, so struggling quite a bit. Maui and Provatax, what could have been for the two Williams boys. I think Maui is going to try the fastest lap attempt. He is on those fresh soft tyres, but he's not deploying down the straight. Now he is. So, yeah, if he was going for that fastest lap attempt, he would have deployed all the way down this straight. He could afford to. But maybe he has enough delta. Let's see if he can get that fastest lap. No, he's not. He's just weaving on the straight, so he won't get it. And Provatax, the final car to cross the line before then we go into the race results for round 6 around Jeddah. Both Williams deciding to do a little spin across the line so that we can see Rowan in P1. Good job there from Rowan, really impressed, kept it clean, had a really good race strategy and really good setup. That just meant that he didn't need to deploy as much battery. And this is what I was saying. This is what I say to a lot of people. If you can just keep that battery, keep the pack full, and that will just set you up really nicely for the rest of the race. But that of course means you need to have that natural pace, which Rowan showed today that he has around this track. So good job there from Rowan. And there's our podium sitters right now, as Chris doing a good job apologising for his incident with Kian. Obviously it's just a normal racing incident, nothing that Kian could have done, and obviously Chris just had a bit of an incident. RDA here at 10:17 there. Yeah, after this podium sequence I will run through the quick grid with you guys. And as you can see, we have Rowan in the Alpine in P1, Guyton P2, Key in P3, and MGK P4, and all Dutch top 4, so doing really well for the Dutch crowd there. Maris Formula P5, Lumi P6, Jimmy P7, Randy P8, Maui P9, Provatax P10, and our non-finishers P11, P12, P13 Chris, Gaines Class, and Mali there, and Provatax pipping and getting that fastest lap at the end of the race on those fresher, softer tyres. So a good job there from the Provatax to get the fastest lap. But yeah, that is our round 6 around this track. A bit of an okay race. Had some action, had some collisions as well. But yes, we will see you next week for, give me 2 seconds guys, we will see you next week for the Australian Grand Prix. Yes, we will be returning to Australia next week, which is a nice track to race, and with the new changes should be an even fun race next week. But yeah, that is me. I have been back from my racing exploits last week and a bit of a break, and I will see you guys hopefully next week for Australia. Good night guys.